Cool.
I am cool, thank you. So, next morning, Yuna would probably be the one who's aware. Hearing the ever so grating business voice of your brother talking to Captain Kato in the entry hallway to your house. In that sort of very almost Wall Street disingenuous kind of way. He is when discussing business. I imagine you'd get Rakath and meet with her. It's kind of up to you though.
Yeah. I'm gonna see how things are progressing with their conversations, kind of listen in and use detect thoughts.
Hey! Your brother kind of thinks this woman is an asshat because she's very religious. And he actually doesn't respect that at all. And she is just being polite. They're talking about potentially going into business together, that the Daimao has usage for the team of House of Escos beyond merely negotiations, and that there may be more traitors in the treaty that might have to be dealt with, and she doesn't know how deep this spider web runs, things like that. And there's moments where your brother's like, yes, but they're very talented. Very talented magician is my sister. Very talented torturer is Rakath. Voss, you'd love him if you meet him. Very lovely. Very devout. Stuff like that. Absolute nothing conversation.
Yeah. All right, I'll go save the two of them from any more awkward conversation.
You gonna bring Rakath?
Yeah, I'm gonna send my doll. Go get Rakath.
What's your doll's name, by the way?
It doesn't have one.
Rakath's giving it a name.
The best thing is like, it would probably clunk down the stairs.
What was the original Drow's name? I don't remember. The head of the house.
Going up the stairs is going to be even funnier. That, like, pulls itself up, wiggles. Up each stair.
The last name is Abadar, but I don't have the...
So it'll be Abby.
Abby!
Wow. Wow.
Oh.
Rakath's off working away, and there's a tap tap clunk, tap tap clunk as it goes down the steps.
Probably carving up any remaining beast that I happen to have down there at the moment. You know, like a dwarf.
So here's the cool thing about the doll, is that it can't speak, but it can open its mouth because it has a bite attack, right?
Right.
So I imagine it just chomps at you.
What is it, Abby?
Communicate.
Is someone stuck in the well? Okay. All right. I'm going to pick Abby up and put her on one of my lumps. Him up on one of my lumps.
It's a male soul in a female body. There's a lot of implications.
Putting Abby up on one of my lumps on the back, and then getting it to hold onto the ladder that's still there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it can hold on to that, and I'll go upstairs with... I haven't cleaned up. I'm covered in
Viscera.
old blood and viscera, and maybe wearing like those like black aprons that are like glistening bright when they're covered in blood. I imagine that's what I'm wearing right now.
No, if it's black, they don't show the blood.
It still glistens.
You can tell.
You can definitely tell, and I feel like that's what he's wearing right now. Come up. Oh, yes. Hello.
Captain Kato will bow to the two of you, but it's more of a head nod. sort of thing, and will say that it is a blessing to see the two of you well, especially considering the establishments that you choose to drink at.
Rakath pulls out a swig of the Pyromancer's Delight, puts it back in his bag.
Gonna turn to my brother. It was so much fun. There were so many things. And there were games, and I won.
Draco looks to Captain Cato and says, "She is full of wonder and finds enjoyment in all things. And we find
that is
I'll nod
great
vigorously at that.
respect in that." And Cato will nod and will say, "The wonders of youth." But we are not here to talk about wonders other than the one true wonder, which is justice done to criminals and heretics within our city.
Wish Boss was here for this.
I really think that you two would get along very well.
Well,
Boss
if your in-house samurai decides to join us later, then of course there is always value in another honored combatant on the battlefield.
Rakath's going to whisper, not whisper.
Yeah.
To you now. Just say, I think we should get them together. They'd be a very good match.
Oh,
I'm gonna
dear.
look very grumpy at that. Like, that's not loud.
No, you're not just not give permission.
She opens her mouth to speak, but on hearing that, just closes it again, and then says, "I do not know if you are aware, but a recent decree by the Daimao is that all Aether Crystal is to be collected and treated as contraband in the city and collected to her palace personally, due to its dangerous arcane potentials."
Back.
Do we have any of that? That's actually a good
Do we have any left is the question.
That's the question. I don't think so.
Um,
I don't have any.
You have had dealings
do I have
with it
any
before? I don't think so. I think you used it.
oh yes, it's quite wonderful for my research.
Well, from my understandings, and I am taught in the ways of the Queen, not the ways of magic, that the Aether Crystal itself is brimming with arcane energy, and something that may be potentially possible in the future is a research contract, if you continue to wish to work with it, with connections to the Daimao. The issue is illegal tampering of it and the usage of turning it into a narcotic substance that is killing people amongst the city, and worse so, we believe to be linked to those who wish to destabilize the city itself from outside of its borders.
Wouldn't that be an interesting turnabout if we were to turn that around on them instead?
The question is, who is doing it? That is something I do not know. I had heard of the youngest of House Tabeskos having particular magical talents that may be able to serve the Queen's purpose here.
I can see the future and read people's minds.
Yes. Of course, as in Book of Elos 1, 2, 3, only the Queen knows the paths we will take, but I am sure the Queen's gift of foresight upon you is quite potent.
There a second edition of the Book of Elos? I thought it only went up to 122.
It is a series of mantras and sayings and prayers.
Ah, interesting.
One book. And Jericho's like, of course, we've all read it here. He's not from around here. He has
I
yet
lost
to
my
be
memory.
Converted, but he is no doubt devout.
Most certainly, though forgetful.
She smiles and nods, and well, Scrolls of Ascension 14, memory is the sharpest blade.
Speaking of memory, I never forget a man glued to a chair. Vidrid Abadar.
Didn't we kill him? Don't I have his soul?
No,
No,
that's the... No, different person. Vidrid Abadar is the one I glued to a
two
chair.
drow souls. I don't remember who the other one was.
I think he was they had a soldier. You know, they had a warrior.
Yeah.
It was like his name started with an N. It was Nazu. Who's Nazu?
Nazu. Right. Vidrid Abadar I glued to a chair and was selling that aether crystal as drug. Glued him
Well,
to
I
a
am
cafe.
sure someone who was glued to a chair would have very particular wounds that would be quite easy to identify.
Yes.
If I was part of the criminal element, I would not be able to go to an established house of healing. I would be able to have some polite rapport. So they would go to somewhere underground where they could get unglued, I would imagine. Of course, it would not be as correct as healing garnered by the goddess and the church, but I believe someone of information acquiring talents might be able to garner some information from such a place. Would it be impolite to assume that you would know somewhere where the criminal element may go to have their wounds stitched shut?
Here's a question for you. Do I know somewhere?
You could roll me a intelligence check, I suppose.
Sure.
Uh,
That's a 14. It's not terrible.
You know the kind of places people will go. You don't know a place, but you, with an investigation check, wandering around the sorts of places, you know, you're likely to find something, right?
Yeah. I may not know a place offhand, but I know the types.
Well then, we will need to know more from them. What we need to know, of prime importance, is where this aether crystal dust is being processed and where it is being mined. Now, I doubt that a simple, common drug dealer would know of such things, but it is a tangled web each of one of us weaves through life, and every step on that web leaves a mark. He will know someone, who will know someone, who will know something. Even if they are the degenerate criminal element, they have sparks of knowledge among them. Knowledge, no doubt, that you could acquire, especially if you could read the minds of those who are less than willing to behave.
Yes. I'm sure we can find something. We do need a bit of time before we can start on this. We do have other endeavors on the run right now. But
It is of prime importance, but the Daimau's agents are already collecting aether crystal throughout the city where it is appropriate. These people will be found. There's nowhere that they can hide. This is our city, and the word of the Queen is law.
Indeed.
All I ask is when you have found a place you believe to be important to this matter, that you summons for me, that I may join you.
That seems reasonable.
And your house will be paid quite handsomely for finding where this is produced and where it is mined. I believe that it will be two different places.
In all likelihood. It's not common to do the processing for such a thing on site. It would cause too much suspicion.
It is also a volatile substance, by my understanding.
Well, that could be fun.
If you do garner any more information about the substance, I'm sure it will be of some value to the House of the Daimao, although her arcane knowledge vastly oversteps that of anyone here in the city below. But it will be valuable to have another set of eyes on such things, I am sure. Garner your information, gather knowledge. You have permission to interrogate as many as you need. This plague that is being pulled onto the streets under the guise of a fun substance. It's a war of its own, she says as she kind of turns and actually picks up her helmet from where she kind of put it down on one of the benches in your entry hall.
Sounds good.
I like the idea that as she goes to leave, opens the door, and Rofi's just in there going, what? He was like reaching for the doorknob. The door's open. What? Hello. You and I need something for my head. It hurts.
I can help you with that. I'm going to walk over and pick Rofi up and put him beside Abby on one of my lumps.
He would just sit there.
Yeah.
She has her helmet on. Her helmet shows, like, you can see her eyes through the helmet quite clearly. And she definitely, her eyes, you know, she just stares at Rofi for a few moments before nodding.
What's she thinking?
She's trying to work out what he is.
Not fooled by the kid act, then.
And
Well, the drunk didn't help.
No, the drunk didn't help.
Yes. And she will kind of hold the door open with one hand and nod and will say, "Summons for me when you have something of substance. And may the Queen bless you on this path.
And you.
And cut down those who oppose you," she says, and closes the door.
Why is everyone yelling?
Rakat's gonna pat Rofi on the head just a little bit too hard. And then I'm gonna do a medicine check on him just to see how hungover he is.
Probably very, very hungover.
Like, disadvantage on checks hungover. Yeah, he's
For a
suffering.
day, definitely.
Do I know what the effect a little bit of Night Lantern would have on his hangover?
Night Lantern unprocessed doesn't do much. You have to process it.
I'm gonna
it would, when processed, completely remove a hangover.
I'm going to hand the little bit of Night Lantern I have to Yuna and say, "Do you think you could whip something up for him? The poor little guy." Gonna pat him on the head again, just a little bit too hard.
Jericho kind of gives a look and says, do you know what that stuff can do?
The stuff? Or the
I had a
incubus?
friend who got addicted to Night Lantern excretions.
Well, we just won't take a lot of it. Right? That's how that works?
That's not how that works.
Okay. Well, maybe I can make it a little less potent in that
That
regard.
would be the ideal, is if you dilute the substance, that is the way to actually handle this.
And I will pretend to that samurai of the Dai Mao that you are not experimenting on illegal narcotic substances on a child. He says, smiling and going into his room.
By the way,
Not a child!
Ha 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 ha. I'm sure he's very mature. And closes the door.
Draco, may I actually speak with you for a moment?
Opens the door again. A little bit. For a moment.
I'm going to take both Abby and Rofi off of my back and hand them to Yuna and walk over and in, just slightly being a little more quiet. Yuna, I'm sure, is going to detect thoughts. It's not a big deal if you do.
No, I'm gonna see if Ruffy wants to come with me to go drop off the potions for the day. Church. A little bit
Not
of a walk.
today. No, he's not up for it at the
It'll be
moment.
so good for your hangover.
Bit of fresh, warm season air. It's actually raining
Alright,
today.
I'll just take my doll then.
That's nice. I am looking to do a little bit of extra work. Torturing, specifically. Largely because I believe it will help us in the long run as a house. I'm looking to get my fingers in more pies, as it were. Get more information.
Don't say it like that. Don't say it that way. No.
Why not? We'll get back to that. Let me pitch first, and then you can tell me why I shouldn't pitch the way I pitched. I always like constructive feedback. So
The point is that there are those who are trying to destabilize our city.
Yes.
It would be beneficial for us to know more about that, but people are being tight-lipped, and we are only going to get as much information as they want us to have, unless I start doing work for more people, getting more information, compiling that information, creating a strategy with that information, being able to actually utilize that so we might counterattack, as it were. After all, our job is public relations to some extent.
Yes.
I feel it would be valuable if you would allow me to utilize some of my time that way.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That is why I have approved working with Captain Cato, although it is not strictly our house's business. It will be good for public affairs, and she seems to believe that it is another race from the Treaty of the Deep that is destabilizing us. It might be linked to the Illithid, although I think narcotics would not be their way.
I suspect not, though I do have some ideas for how it might become their way in the future if we wish to return the favor to those from the surface.
Well, that is what they say, that it is the surface that we're at war with, although I see little proof of that.
Based on how poorly they left some people we've seen, I suspect it is. And I say that at this point I do not have that confirmation, but I do have at least the word of someone I trust. I wouldn't pass that information to you otherwise.
He gives you a long look.
At least somewhat confident.
Taps his very ornate quill. It has a little finger holder thing on it.
Very nice.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
like that.
Good
Yeah.
quality stationery.
Yeah. Gotta appreciate
he sits here and writes all day. You gotta have ergonomic stationery.
Absolutely.
You live for 400 years.
You don't want to have
but
hand cramps.
he taps it for maybe 5 minutes or so and says, "When I will trust you, if you believe that our purpose should be more watching the grander world of Jarviskjir, things that are just rumors, then I will not disagree with you on that."
I believe it is wise to keep an eye on both. And
enemies within, enemies without.
I will do my best to keep as much information coming through this house exclusively as possible.
Information is currency.
Indeed.
And if it is good enough information, it might be able to get enough money to increase our operations in this place. If we work with Captain Cato, even half of what she demands, it'll be enough to buy the floor below us and not just have your prepubescent friend squat there and tinker on toys.
Indeed.
We'll be able to actually connect it to the house, use it to buy Univara a herbalist's garden, and then we can see from there. But keep me updated on what it is you do, and do tell me what it is on the mind of my sister. Despite what I might say to her, I love her dearly, and know that I do not believe she necessarily might speak more freely to you, but you understand people, despite not being a person yourself.
Special skill of mine, I suppose.
That'll be all.
She loves you too, by the way. I'm gonna...
Well, of course. Who wouldn't?
Gonna close the door.
Alright, so what's the plan? You want to take a bit of a downtime week to do some things?
While I'm delivering potions to the hospital, I would like to ask them any questions there if they know the symptoms of aether dust overdose.
Yes.
And if they've had any recently.
So we will actually straight up just walk you to a ward where there's a couple of rich young noble drow, kind of your kind, who they say that at first, when people appeared with these symptoms, we believed it to be sorcery, untamed chaotic magic. It occasionally appears and does quite terrible things to the body. These people are... they actually have a needle right in their forehead, and it's like a shining pearlescent needle. And they're completely comatose. You're smart enough to connect one with the other that the needle is basically keeping them comatose. But crisscrossed across their dark skin, their veins glow through the skin. The same kind of pinks and blues and golds that Aether Crystal does. I'm not exactly sure what the specific things are, but it is strange, raw arcana that we can reverse. It just takes time.
Would you mind if I question them? We are on a mission on behalf of the Queen herself to investigate the source of this Aether Dust, and I have magics that can help me read their minds.
Yes, I believe that would be appropriate, although I don't know how much use they will be. It seems that too much use of this kind of makes its effects far more permanent, which might be beneficial to some people, but torturous to most.
So, Ollie, here's my plan for questioning these people.
Uh-huh. I'm worried already.
I'm going to cast Encode Thoughts, right? Which take my thoughts and turn them into a ribbon, which can be read if the person I'm handing them to also casts Encode Thoughts.
Where does this spell come from?
I think it's from the Ravnica book.
It is.
Very character. I don't have the Ravnica book.
Oh my goodness.
It's a PDF. I can give it to you if you want it.
Yeah, I like the idea though.
It's kind of
Are you gonna invest?
terrible. I'm going to invest your Encode Thought to the sleeping person so they can read it, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give them the cantrip now. I'm gonna wrap the thought ribbon like around their hand, right? And then I'm gonna cast Detect Thoughts.
Okay.
That is brilliant and confusing, and I love it.
We're gonna use it later to talk to the Illithid brain.
So that basically means you have, like a ticker that would be on a comatose patient reading their brain, but in a much more magical way.
Damn.
Yeah, this is my idea, and then I'm gonna Detect Thoughts. I'm gonna obviously probe deeper. They're gonna roll a 4 on their save. All right.
Fair. Do you ask a question or do you look for something specific when you probe deeper? I never remember that.
Yeah, I kind of want to. You just probe deeper, but I think if I mention words and stuff like that,
you gain
the brain is gonna think about
you get everything. You get everything if you probe deeper. Fair. Okay.
Well, that made that investigation much faster, I guess.
Yeah.
You are
Well,
terrifying.
this is what this character's good at.
Yep.
essentially, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask where they got this stuff and who they met with.
So part of the magic of this Encode Thoughts is understanding the ribbon of magic that weaves through, which of course you do, but it takes 3 moments to essentially translate it. In part due to the almost fractured nature of their mind. It mostly comes in flashes and thoughts. But there's a place with rich red leather seats and motes of light floating across the ceiling, and men dancing in not much dress, where he and some of his compatriots kind of were drinking and enjoying some Aether crystal before that happened, and it seems that it was essentially served to them, like at their table, in this establishment.
All right. I'm going to take that detect thoughts. I'm going to turn it into an encoded thought ribbon so I can show it to the party.
Okay. That's a cool spell that totally fits you.
Right? I can do it for things like modified memory too.
Yeah, I mean it connects with a lot of spells that both exist in D&D and in Jarviskjir. A tiny weightless semi-solid object that can be held and carried like a wyvern, it otherwise stationary.
It would be useless unless multiple members in the party had it, but I can investor the cantrip into them. Yeah. Which makes it significantly more useful, because otherwise it's kind of useless, right?
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, you have basically this encoded memory thought ribbon of the place where they got the stuff. So you can come back to the party. I feel like there was something Rakath was about to do before. Anyway.
Working.
Week of downtime, I think.
I also need to.
Well, it depends if, as a party, you want to take downtime, because you can't do one person takes downtime, but one person does the quest.
Right. After this, we can take downtime if you guys would like to, but I will give the thought ribbon to Rakath and Rufy. Rofi?
Rofi.
Rofi is a different kind of drug, and we really don't want to go down that road.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be weird if we were talking about real drugs, not fantasy space drugs.
Yeah.
That makes it totally okay.
Yeah. I do also need to go and find out how long it's going to take for that armor to be built. I didn't even ask when I was...
It would be done by now. You know, you'd go in the morning, you pick it up. Thing about this armor is it's completely waterproof.
Ooh, very cool.
It also squeaks a little. I'm going to say it. It's a little Nazi-ish. Fine leather armor.
Oh dear.
But, you know, got style.
There you go. All right.
I mean, I'm fine with or without. It's just a case of like, if we have, like, if you guys are doing downtime, Rofi's going to spend that time researching the rules.
Yeah. I'm up for downtime.
Yep.
Now that I have my money-making scheme in place and I can work on my magic item that's not done yet.
Yeah. So, well, really, with receiving the thought ribbon and having it invested and being able to see this place, what would be the next step as the party, right? Mr. Rakath, who gets to see the thought ribbon.
Yeah, Rofi is not going to be in any hurry.
Sorry. One moment. I was just putting the studded leather armor into my inventory. So that's a good question. The next step, I guess, it depends. Where is this place based on the imagery?
Somewhere rich, noble drow would hang out. You don't see the outside, only the inside.
Somewhere rich, noble drow would hang out. I would want to be working, but I would try and... with my downtime, the intention would be to work to try and gather information. Not about this specifically, but about...
If you get a good Torturer's Tools roll, you might get both.
So, my roll before that I rolled that was never used was the 25.
Yes.
Do I get to use that, or can I roll... Okay. I'll roll again. Okay.
You were going to use that if you didn't talk to this person.
No.
Okay. That's fair.
It's downtime. I can't help you get advantage, I don't think.
No. 19. Still not bad.
19's good. It's not 25.
No, it isn't.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could have used a 25?
Yeah. I mean, I have a +7 too, so it's not even a very good roll, realistically.
So this gives you... So you do earn some money.
Cool.
Going out, torturing people, going to the
family business
den, and getting jobbies done.
Yes.
You
20
end
gold?
up getting 14 gold for your worries.
14 gold.
Which is a lot for a week's work.
It's okay.
You don't really get a lot of information other than it is a bit of a talk in the Torturous Tavern, which honestly I'm kind of down for it just being called the Torturous Tavern because that's quite catchy.
It is. I'm sure it had a name before, but it
is just the Torturous Tavern.
Yeah.
The bit of a talk around is that everyone knows what Aether Crystal is because it's what gives light to the Underrealm, right? It is the stars in your sky. Among some torturers, especially those who are a little bit more magically inclined than you, it is used as a torturous device. You actually know someone who kind of turns it into blades that cause a kind of arcane pain that leaves no marks, which is very valuable. But he has had his stash taken by the Daimyo's forces because he foolishly declared it as a work tool.
Claimed it on his taxes?
He claimed it on his taxes. It's very expensive. So it's been taken from him. And there's a lot of stories. Rakaf actually not spending a lot of time in the streets, but other torturers here who do say that, this crystal is being taken from homes because sometimes it's just pretty and it's just made into an art piece or used by an amateur magician or something like that, and the Daimyo's forces are just going through the city acquiring it by violent means if necessary.
Okay.
Doesn't seem. You might say, "Oh, is it just the crystal?" And it's like, just the dust. And it's like, no, it's doesn't.
Everything.
They don't seem concerned with the dust. The soldiers seem more concerned with the crystal.
Okay. I will report all that information as well to Yuna.
We'll talk about that after Yuna's downtime roll.
Yay!
If actually you don't need to roll anything, you just finish making your item.
Yeah,
if you want to just work on the
sell
item.
my stuff every morning. Yeah, right. No, I mean.
Yeah, you don't need to roll anything.
In my Portents bank, I could use for whatever if you want there to be a roll.
There doesn't need to be a roll because you already started.
Right. So instead, I have questions. So 7 days pass, right?
Yes.
Do they just buy the 5? Required to have hit potions? Okay, cool. That would be 350.
Yeah. During downtime, just assume they buy the 5 every time, just for ease sake, right?
It makes the math easy. That might have been why it was,
That's smart of you to do.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I think that's honestly totally fair for your downtime being finishing crafting the mask. Cool. No checkeroonies required. But for Mr. Rofi, you do have a check if you want to keep it.
You can take the 17, Rofi. I should have given it to Rakath, but I wasn't paying attention at the beginning.
So what am I rolling?
You're not rolling anything. She's helping you anymore. And giving you a portent.
Okay, that's what I mean. Which one is it? Because I'll say how much my
What's the modifier, basically, to whatever the thing is.
Arcana.
If it's Arcana, that's +6.
Okay,
so it'd be
a 23. That's pretty good. So there's a couple of interesting things about this machine that you have here. Working for weeks on end down there, you kind of made that little place into a bit of a nerd den. working her way on this thing, and sometimes taking
He's
parts
probably like
off
one
of...
corner of the area is just entirely set up for him. He doesn't care, like,
Yeah.
he didn't care about the fact that he didn't own the place. It's just now set it up for him.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, it's a series of rooms around a central chamber, so you might have just set up in one of those rooms.
Yeah.
In your researching of the Duros, what you already knew is that the magic is inert. Now, you don't know a whole lot about rune magic. So part of the researching is, finding some books about that, learning a bit more, poking things, drawing things. And rune magic seems to be almost a shortcut to arcane magic. The runes do very specific things in very specific ways. The runes inside of Torum's body are containment runes, essentially. It's a bit more complicated than that. You would need to be a runesmith and really know about what you're doing to know more than that. But what is obvious at looking at like the base shaping of the rune and stuff that it is made to contain, most likely Torum's soul. The soul going in is a completely separate part. It does seem that there's some sort of processing to putting a soul into the body other than just it is contained within the runes and the runes hold it in. It is more than that. There is most likely an extra magical ritual on top of it, that all these things come together to not create life, but displace life into the body of a Duros. You don't believe that these are constructs that gain sentience. You don't know if such a thing would be possible, but that's not your expertise. All you're aware is that wouldn't make sense for this. The soul has to have come from somewhere to be functional in this machine. So those are kind of the things you really learn while tinkering away at the Duros. And I'm going to tell you were essentially milked Torum dry of the information you can garner from just his body, which is quite a lot with
I was about to say that's a big thing to get. So I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I would 100% relay that information to everyone. He probably wouldn't understand the significance of it yet, because as you said, it's not his speciality. But he would definitely be like noting down all that stuff, like this is his findings.
It makes it more similar to Yuna's homunculus than a construct, true construct.
I am sure Rofi would probably actually make that comparison as well.
That's kind of why I mentioned it, because
Yuna's
homunculus is a soul in a body.
And he would be doing this when he's like returning Torum's body, because like I don't need it anymore.
But what is clear though in that doing that for Yuna is that, I mean, also it's a cheap soul gem or blah, 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 and the gem is physically inside it, but there's no gem in Torum, and there never was.
Different type of containment.
Containment, same idea. What Yuna's doing is far more primitive than what they're doing.
Oh yeah. He would make the comparisons of like this is probably where the original idea came from, and then someone took it to like a new extreme.
What Yuna's homunculus is basically base drow consciousness. There might be over time. There's kind of a homunculus theory that more of that personality comes out through the soul over time, which would be something that Yuna would have noticed of Torum, that he slowly grew more personality over time. But with a homunculus, it's never going to be. You could never have a conversation with them, and it would be like talking to that person. Whereas you figure with Torum, if Torum knew, Torum might have been a person, right? I know it's a weird sentence, but
as in, yeah, I think if you say anything about the fact that, like that sort of thing, in terms of Torum grew like that as well, he would probably suggest that maybe his soul came from a person.
He was
Doesn't
a
know
person.
how. No, I know what I mean is the original soul came from a person.
I don't know.
Really interesting stuff. Here's my notes. He just hands you like this gigantic stack of like notes that is way too much. Half of it you wouldn't be able to read anyway. It's like
mostly
like
pictures.
parts of it are in Sylvan. And
Yeah.
some of
You
it,
could just put this in a thought ribbon so I could instantly gain the information from you.
now that's interesting.
Oh.
Let's try it. And he would do the thing. Honestly,
I'm going to read the notes.
Yeah, his thoughts
Because I
would
can
be
read
just
Sylvan.
as jumbled, honestly.
Yeah.
His thoughts would be just as jumbled in like
I
random
imagine the
orders.
thoughts are
It
just
would all
like
be
jumbled
there.
and scrambled, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would all be there. It would just be much harder to deal with.
What's
a lot.
interesting is that the kind of color of the thought ribbon coming from each person is different. And the way the memories present for Rofi, it would be very much emotion, I imagine, that comes through more than anything else. Which means you'd feel very excited casting Detect Thoughts on the thought ribbon, but maybe not get a whole lot of actual information. Of course you would, because you can decode it, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Just an interesting
the
note
word
of how differently
fascinating
these
is
work.
everywhere and just dispersed randomly.
Like every third word.
It's just fascinating. Yep.
I love it.
That's funny.
But I will ruffle over his head and tell him thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me learn. And then he goes away.
I'm gonna look at my doll. I'm gonna wonder if the need to be picked up was inherent in the doll's body originally, if that can carry thought processes, or if it was something that was in the soul before.
The soul of the head of House Abidar.
Just like being held.
Yeah.
He was lonely.
Oh.
It's lonely.
Roll me an insight check.
Oh.
It's one of those bad guys that just never got love.
Because it's kind of a surrogate body, you figure it just might be hollow and cold in there.
Oh. Well, that's sad.
And because it is such a base conscious homunculus, it can't process feelings or emotions. And so they're just translated into the simplest motions possible.
It's a baby.
It's a baby.
Aww.
Alright, well, I'll hold it, because that's sad.
I remember when I was a baby and I thought that my form was cold and empty inside, and all I wanted was to be held.
It's a baby.
It's a baby.
Oh, I'm sorry I made you like this.
But you can improve.
That's terrifying.
Everyone's first homunculus is cold and empty and sad inside.
Oh no.
Alright.
We're going full Metal Alchemist here.
We're increasingly. So as well as that is the information that Rakaf garnered that Aether Crystal is being collected up. That's really the only information he had, but you said you would give it to a party. I don't know if that would be relevant to anything. But it's information. Information is valuable.
I will ask, Drasco. Or Draco?
Draco.
Draco.
Your brother.
Draco? Draco. Okay.
Jarviskjir sounds like a hot sauce.
I know, right?
It's
About his friend who overdosed and if he's aware of any places like the one in my vision.
He will clear his throat and say that I am sure that even in my younger, more hormonal days that I would not have entertained. Such phallic entertainment. Yeah, he does. He kind of knows that sort of place.
Alright, I'm gonna probe deeper, and he rolls a 3.
He actually
to get the location.
Yeah, you can get a location. It's kind of in this part of the city, actually. It's a little bit hidden. Narashiro and Drow culture is very sex positive. So there being essentially strip clubs, they could be high establishment strip clubs. Hell yeah. Especially if it's men who are the entertainment, because that is what they exist for. But this one is a little more hidden away, a little more like an explicit memory you have when you probe deeper is him with a few guy friends going to a door and giving a password, and you actually find the password, which is Dove, because this place doesn't have a name or anything like that. It's one of those shady places, and being allowed in.
All right, well, thank you. Mind you, he knows.
Yes, he just blushes a kind of deep purpley blue.
It's fine. It's totally normal, and I will never speak of this again. I didn't go any deeper than the password.
He does not have anything to say for once.
Oh no.
That's funny. Yeah, that's actually really useful. Which means, what do you think of the next week? Are you thinking of using, because you now actually have, enough information to go on a little...
it's up to the party. Whatever they
go
want
there, you could garner more information, you could do whatever. You may have VOS in approximately 10 minutes, so who knows? It depends how urgently you want to go to a strip club.
Yeah, that's the real question.
I really want to see awkward VOS in a strip club.
It's true. That's also important. That's really important. The calculation that I'm making right now is whether or not. Yeah. I think it's more important to see awkward VOS in a strip club, which means I think we need to take more downtime.
Well, you don't need to do a week of downtime to spend whatever, really, what else would you guys want to do before?
I want to try and double my money at the casino.
Okay. You mean the Traders Tavern, where it has kind of the games?
Any casino.
Traders Tavern. Any casino.
Like a casino where you can put down all of your money? Is that what you're saying? All of your money. How much money
like
do you...
500.
Jesus
Christ. I have 756 gold.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So what I would like to do is just kind of take some downtime and wait for a day where I have a really good ports, and then just go in and double my money.
Oh no.
It's fair though. It's reasonable. So it doesn't happen the next day. You got all this information. The future is not kind to you. So kind of what as a team or even individuals do you kind of fancy doing?
Jeez.
At some stage Rofi would want to go to he would, like, if Voss comes in, meditates, whatever, he'd ask Voss for the location of that blacksmith. Because Rofi would want to try and hire himself out, because he's proficient in smithy tools. So it's a way to learn.
Blacksmith would not even acknowledge your presence. He's a very old, very traditional drow. Just kind of ignores you as you should.
I gotta make something.
If he's a traditional drow, why is he even working? He should be at home.
Caring for the kids.
It's a fair point.
Yeah, you're right.
If possible, I want one of you very magical folk to tell me what this fucking sword I stole does.
I need 100 gold for that. For yes.
Oh yeah,
I
you
do.
need the
I do need 100 gold for that.
Genuinely need the
100 gold.
It doesn't consume the item, but you need to have an item worth the 100 gold.
Yeah,
I remember.
Then, if you ask Rofi to do that, he would say he needs supplies and say how much. Go to Yuna. I need this.
Would it
I don't
be?
have.
Yes. After the fortunes favor us, and I can double my gold.
Reasonable. I will wait. I will wait patiently.
Rakath, can you roll me a brewing check?
Yes.
You notice something strange when you go to your vat of experiment. You can kind of take a spoon and stir
Of the mind hawk, the melted mind hawk. Yeah.
Almost what look like shards of glass have started forming in the liquid.
Ooh.
And these shards, which I imagine, of course, you would pluck one out and
of course.
look at them. They refract light in a very strange, unlogical way. They kind of have this blue, purple, sparkling light, almost a darkness trapped within them.
Do they seem soluble? Like, do they seem like if I were to...
They seem like glass.
Like glass.
Yeah.
Okay. I may do something that I'm like... This is a bit of a stretch for the brewing tools, but it would be kind of...
Well, I like stretches.
You and me both, sir. You and me both. I'm essentially wanting to utilize kind of a mixture of my tools here.
Yeah.
Because I'm proficient in the torturer's tools, the forgery kit, and the brewer's kit. Through the use of these 3 items, essentially what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to take several shards of these glass, these void glass, I guess, what I'm going to call it for now, probably permanently because I won't remember any other name now. But essentially what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to see, first of all, whether or not it can be melted down, whether or not it can be carved into, whether or not it can be... essentially, what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to see if I can make it into a sphere with several of these pieces of glasses, melting them together, putting them together, maybe with the help of Rofi and his smithing tools as well.
If you have Rofi's help, intelligence roll with advantage that either of you could do.
Okay.
Definitely would be up for doing
because
that.
he's smart.
Yeah. I think you have one more intelligence than me.
I have 18 total.
Yes, then you have +1 more intelligence than me. So with advantage, senor. That's good. That could be worse.
It seems very hard to shape this substance. It's surprisingly brittle, but almost always breaks in a very attractive way, if that makes sense. It doesn't crack and kind of dull the edges. It always snaps and has a very clear, quite sharp edge. If any of you would ever accidentally prick yourself with them as you're handling them, you would feel a headache immediately. And what you notice is it's very hard to shape, but you can sort of put them together. When you kind of put them out all on a table, it's almost like there's one image projected through all of them. Almost like you're looking through into a starscape. And you're not sure if it's your imagination or if that's kind of just the trick that the sentient brain does to itself. But you almost see a face within that starscape.
Ooh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Good, you see it too then. That's comforting.
I want to take a couple of pieces of these glass. I want to break them into very small pieces. Okay, and essentially, I want to kind of put them into a pouch, and I want to strap that pouch to the end of my arrow.
Okay.
And I want to do that with a couple of them.
Sure.
With, say, 3 arrows, just to see what happens.
I want to cast Detect Thoughts on it. But I'm not there right now, just in the future.
As soon as there's a face in it, I'm calling Yuna down with the face.
So you come down, you kind of see that there's this strange void glass and stuff. You cast Detect Thoughts. You definitely feel something, but it. And often I say, it's hard to tell. No, this is literally an undiscernible emotion. It's like seeing a color that doesn't exist in your spectrum. This is just
so there's definitely, there's a presence there. You know how, like when you're in a room with someone, you may not be able to see them, but you can feel that they're there? Like that, there's something there. I don't know what it is. I can tell you that it's not a person, because that's not a person emotion that I'm feeling.
I'm going to find out.
Great.
I might also want to take a couple of the more like broken sharp shards that I might be able to put on something.
If you do that, then you will have no more void glass until you make some more.
No, then I wouldn't do that.
I will give you one of the pouches off of the arrow. I'll just have 2 of the arrows with it.
I will keep the pouch, so if you do want to, if we need the, turns out to be good, I can just help you make another arrow.
Okay.
It's a pouch of void glass.
I'm going to take the rest of the void glass, and I'm going to put it into another pouch, a larger pouch probably, slightly. Maybe one of my Tupperware containers.
That's a Tupperware job if I've ever seen one.
I'm thinking that's a Tupperware job, so I'm gonna put that into one of my Tupperware containers and tuck that away. And I'm just gonna have a small box of void glass.
Offer to broadcast. I was gonna offer this for the Lithid brain. I thought maybe if you had the Lithid brain and the soul, I could cast these spells on you to make you able to communicate with it. But same thing applies to this void glass, maybe. If I cast Encode Thoughts on you, and Encode Thoughts on whatever that is, you can create a thought strand and then feed it into it. You might not get a response right away, but it's essentially a one-way method to communicate with it. Or at least open up a channel of some sort.
You know what? I'll let you stew on that. Because we just got a 4th baby boy.
A baby boy!
We're going to be right back. And set
I've seen
that
enough
up.
Lovecraft to see where this is going.
Yep.
What?
No.